Some words don't fade with time. They don't disappear into the air like smoke. They wait. They wait in silence. They hide inside memories, inside wombs, inside futures. And when the time is right, they rise again, wearing consequences. No one in that neighborhood ever forgot that afternoon. Not because blood was spilled, not because police came, but because two pregnant women spoke words that altered destinies. Years later, when people talked about it in hushed tones, they never called it witchcraft. They never blamed charms or spiritual attacks. They simply said, it was the mouth. Before the pain, before the regret, before two innocent children paid for anger they never caused. There were just two women, heavy with pregnancy, standing in the same compound, both tired, both emotional, both unaware that a single argument would follow them for the rest of their lives. That day began like any other. The sun was hot but familiar, the kind that made women sit outside to feel fresh air while fanning themselves with old cardboard. Children ran barefoot, laughing, chasing dust. Radios played low gospel songs from different rooms. Life was normal until shouting broke the peace. Not the usual shouting. This one carried rage. Neighbors paused. Hands froze mid-movement. Ears tilted instinctively. Two voices clashed. Two pregnant women. One calm voice, shaking with restraint. The other sharp, loud, reckless. No one stepped in immediately. Pregnant quarrels were dangerous ground. And then it happened. Words were released. Not ordinary insults. Not temporary anger. Words spoken from the womb of rage. Words that should never have been spoken by mothers. Words that refused to die. By nightfall, the shouting stopped. By morning, life continued. But something unseen had already been set in motion. Because from that day onward, two pregnancies no longer carried only babies. They carried consequences. And neither woman knew it yet. Before that day gave her a name she never wanted, people knew her simply as Mornike. Not because she was famous, not because she was rich, but because she was quiet. In a compound where voices competed daily, Mornike's silence stood out like calm water among crashing waves. She was the kind of woman people noticed only after she had passed. Slim before pregnancy, gentle in movement, her words always chosen carefully, never wasted. She was 7 months pregnant with her first child. Every morning, she swept the frontage of her room slowly, resting every few minutes to rub her belly. Her wrapper was always neatly tied, her hair always covered, her slippers worn but clean. Nothing about her invited trouble. "Good morning, Mornike," neighbors greeted. "Good morning," she replied, always with a soft nod. Her husband, Kunnel, worked as a commercial driver. He left early, returned late, and trusted his wife completely. "She doesn't fight," he once told a neighbor proudly. "She doesn't even like trouble." That was true. Mornike believed deeply that peace was strength. She believed silence saved homes. She believed endurance was wisdom. Her mother had taught her that a woman's mouth could either build a child or destroy one. And Mornike listened. Even when provoked, she swallowed words. Even when insulted, she walked away. Even when mocked, she chose peace. But pregnancy changes a woman. Hormones sharpen emotions. Fatigue lowers patience. And fear sits quietly in the heart. At night, Mornike often lay awake, one hand on her belly, whispering prayers. "God, please let this child be fine. God, let me be a good mother. God, help me not to fail this child." She didn't know why fear followed her like a shadow, but she felt it. The compound had many women, but only one disturbed her spirit. Her name was Bola. Bola had moved into the compound barely 3 months earlier, already heavily pregnant, already loud, already feared. Where Mornike passed quietly, Bola arrived like noise itself. Her voice carried across walls. Her insults were casual. Her anger was quick. And unlike Mornike, Bola spoke without thinking. The first time they crossed paths, Bola laughed loudly and said, "Some women like pretending they are saints. Pregnancy will expose everybody." Mornike said nothing. When Bola complained openly that Mornike walked like someone too proud to greet properly, Mornike still said nothing. Even when Bola mocked her quietness, calling it stupidity, Mornike swallowed it. But inside her chest, something stirred. Not anger, fear. Because deep down, Mornike knew something most people ignored. A quiet woman still has a breaking point. And pregnancy had brought that point closer than she realized. What more Nike didn't know, what she could never have imagined, was that her silence was being tested for a reason. Because destiny had placed her beside a woman whose mouth knew no restraint. And when quiet meets reckless speech, the damage is never small. If more Nike was quiet water, Bola was a storm that announced itself before arriving. From the very day she entered the compound, her presence was impossible to ignore. Her voice came before her footsteps. Her laughter rang too loud. Her anger landed too fast. Even her pregnancy could not soften her edges. Bola was 8 months pregnant. Her belly was large and proud, pushing forward as if competing with the world. She walked with confidence, chin raised, shoulders back, hands always on her waist like a woman permanently ready for battle. She didn't believe in silence. Keeping quiet is what makes people step on your head, she once said loudly while pounding pepper in the open compound. If you don't talk, they will think you are useless. People heard her. People avoided her. Bola had 2 children already, both loud, restless, and stubborn. They shouted at adults. They fought other children. And whenever someone complained, Bola would burst out like fire. Are you the one feeding them? Don't touch my child again if you love yourself. Children are children. Pregnancy had only sharpened her tongue. Inside her house, Bola talked endlessly. Outside, she argued endlessly. At the slightest provocation, her mouth moved faster than her mind. She didn't believe words carried weight. To hell with words, she once scoffed. What can mouth do? But beneath that confidence lived something else. Fear. Late at night, when the compound slept and her husband snored softly beside her, Bola would lie awake, rubbing her belly aggressively. This baby must not come and suffer, she whispered once. I will not be weak like some women. She compared herself constantly. Compared pregnancies. Compared strength. Compared respect. And more Nike, with her silence, disturbed her deeply. How can someone be that quiet? Bola complained to another woman one afternoon. She thinks she's better than everybody. That was when resentment took root. The day trouble truly started was small, insignificant, the kind of thing that should have ended with a warning and apology. More Nike was returning from the tap, a bucket balanced carefully on her head. Her steps were slow, careful. As she passed Bola's door, Bola suddenly flung dirty water outside. The water splashed across Mornike's legs. Ah! Mornike gasped, startled. She stopped and looked at Bola. Sister, she said calmly, please be careful. I'm pregnant. Bola stared at her. Then she laughed. Pregnant? So what? She snapped. Does pregnancy make you special? Mornike felt heat rise to her chest, but she swallowed it. I'm just saying. Don't say anything. Bola cut in. You people that like acting holy, you annoy me. People nearby watched quietly. Mornike adjusted the bucket on her head. I don't want trouble, she said softly. I'm just asking for respect. That word, respect, triggered something ugly. Respect. Bola barked. Who are you that I should respect? Silence fell. Mornike walked away without replying. But as she did, something inside Bola snapped. She shouted after her, loud enough for the whole compound to hear. Keep pretending. One day your mouth will open, and we'll see who you really are. Mornike's steps slowed for just a second. She didn't turn. But inside her womb, the baby kicked hard. And somewhere in the unseen realm of consequences, something stirred. Because destiny had now marked the moment. The quiet woman had been pushed. The loud woman had crossed a line. And the day words would finally refuse to die was drawing closer. In that compound, children were everywhere. They ran freely, laughed loudly, fought, reconciled, and fought again. To them, quarrels ended quickly. To adults, they often became seeds of war. Mornike tried to be careful. Whenever she saw Bola's children approaching, she would quietly change direction. Whenever they played close to her door, she gently asked them to move away. She didn't want stories. She didn't want stress. She didn't want problems, especially not in pregnancy. But children don't understand tension the way adults do. One hot afternoon, when the sun hung stubbornly in the sky, children gathered in the open compound to play. Mornike sat on a low stool nearby, peeling vegetables, resting often and wiping sweat from her face. Suddenly, a sharp cry pierced the air. Auntie! Mornike's heart jumped. She looked up and saw Timmy, a small boy from another room, holding his head and crying. Beside him stood Bola's second child, stone in hand, breathing heavily. What happened? Mornike asked, standing up slowly. He hit me, Timmy sobbed. He said I shouldn't touch the ball. Mornike felt a familiar tightness in her chest. She walked closer, her voice calm. Why did you throw a stone at him? She asked the boy gently. Before the child could answer, Bola burst out of her room. Itchy, why? She shouted. Why are you questioning my child? Mornike turned to her. I'm not fighting, she said quietly. The boy is bleeding. So what? Bola snapped. Children play rough. Mornike looked at the small cut on Timmy's head. Blood had already begun to stain his shirt. This is not play, she said, her voice firmer now. This is injury. Saad laughed mockingly. Madam Midwife, since when did you become doctor? Mind your pregnancy and leave my children alone. The watching women shifted uncomfortably. Mornike felt something rise from deep within her belly. Not the baby, but emotion. I'm warning you, she said slowly. Please control your children. Bola stepped closer. Warning me, she scoffed. Who do you think you are? For the first time since she entered that compound, Mornike did not back away. If anything happens to a child because of your negligence, she said, you will answer for it. Silence fell. Bola stared at her like someone seeing her for the first time. Then she smiled. A cold, dangerous smile. This quiet one, she said loudly, has finally found her voice. Mornike returned to her seat, her hands shaking slightly. She didn't know it yet, but that was the first warning destiny recorded, and it was ignored. From that day, tension lived openly in the compound. Greetings stopped. Eyes avoided each other. Every movement felt watched. Mornike's pregnancy advanced. Her body grew heavier, her patience thinner. Yet she truly tried, to remain the woman she had always been. But Bola did not let go. Every chance she got, she threw words like stones. Some people think pregnancy makes them important. Silence doesn't mean wisdom. Fake humility is the worst pride. Each word landed somewhere inside Mornike. The final straw came on a Saturday evening. Children were playing again. Laughter filled the air. For a brief moment, peace seemed possible. Then Mornike heard her name screamed in fear. Mummy, her nephew, who had come visiting, ran toward her, crying, clutching his arm. Bola's eldest child stood nearby, holding a thick stick. Mornike stood up immediately. What happened? She asked, panic rushing through her. He beat me, the boy cried. Because I entered their game. Mornike didn't shout. She walked straight to Bola's door. Bola, she called. Come out. Bola emerged slowly, chewing groundnuts. What is it again? Your child beat mine, Mornike said. This must stop. Bola laughed. Beat him again if he enters, she replied casually. That was when something broke. I have warned you enough, Mornike said, her voice trembling now. Control your children. Bola stepped forward. And if I don't, she challenged. What will you do? Their pregnant bellies almost touched. Women nearby whispered nervously. Enough. One woman tried to intervene, but Bola pushed her aside. Leave her, Bola said loudly. Let her talk. Mornike felt heat rush to her head. She had reached her limit. One day, she said quietly, dangerously, you will regret the way you use your mouth. Bola's eyes flared. You think you scare me? She screamed. You think your quietness is power? The fight ended there, but it should have ended completely. It didn't, because pride never knows when to stop. The day everything exploded came suddenly. The sky was cloudy. The air felt heavy, like rain holding itself back. Mornike was alone in her room when she heard chaos outside. Shouting, crying, children screaming. She rushed out as fast as her pregnant body allowed. And there it was. Her nephew lay on the ground, crying uncontrollably, blood running from his nose. Bola's child stood over him, stone still in hand. Something snapped inside Mornike. She didn't think. She didn't calculate. She reacted. She picked up a broomstick lying nearby and struck the boy once, hard enough to shock him, not to injure him. The boy screamed and ran home. Silence followed. Then Bola came out. What did you do? She roared. You beat my child? Yes, Mornike replied, breathing heavily. I did. The compound froze. Bola charged toward her like fire. You useless woman, she screamed. You dare touch my child? Insults poured out like poison. You and your pregnancy. You and your fake calmness. Mornike felt tears sting her eyes. Stop, she said. Please stop. But rage has no brakes. And then Bola shouted it. A sentence that cut the air in half. I curse that thing in your womb, she screamed. You will carry it to term, but it will bring you shame. The world stopped. Mornike felt her knees weaken. Something rose from deep inside her. Pain, fear, anger, regret, all at once. And without thinking, without control, she shouted back. And you too. You will regret the day you opened your mouth over children. Gasps filled the compound. 2 pregnant women. 2 reckless sentences. 2 destinies marked. As Mornike turned away, her hands shaking, one truth hung heavy in the air. Words had been spoken, and they would not die. After that day, the compound changed. Not physically, but spiritually. The shouting stopped. The insults paused. Yet the air felt heavier, as though something unseen now lived among them. Mornike stayed indoors for days. She barely ate, barely slept. Every time her baby kicked, fear tightened around her heart like a rope. At night, she replayed the moment again and again. Why did I respond? Why didn't I walk away? Why did I let my mouth betray me? Her husband noticed. You've changed, Connell said one night, rubbing her back gently. You're not yourself. I'm just tired, she replied. But it wasn't tiredness. It was dread. Across the compound, Bola laughed loudly as usual. She mocked freely. Some people think words have power, she told anyone who listened. If mouth could do anything, the world would be upside down. She was proud. Too proud. Yet sometimes, late at night, when the compound slept, Bola would hold her stomach tightly and whisper, Baby, you're fine, right? Destiny listened. Mornike's labor started on a rainy night. The pain came suddenly, sharp and relentless. By the time they reached the hospital, she was shaking, soaked in sweat and fear. Please, she whispered during contractions. Please let my baby be okay. Hours later, a baby's cry filled the room. Alive, strong, loud. Relief flooded Mornike's heart. But relief did not last. Days passed, and slowly, something strange revealed itself. The baby did not respond to sound, did not turn at voices, did not startle at noise. Doctors ran tests, whispered among themselves. Finally, one sat beside her. Madam, he said carefully, your child can hear, but his mind does not receive emotions properly. Mornike stared. What does that mean? It means, the doctor continued, your child will grow, but without emotional connection. He may not feel love, empathy, or fear the way others do. Her chest collapsed. Her child would live, but would not feel. She remembered Bola's words. You will carry it to term, but it will bring you shame. Mornike cried silently that night, clutching her baby. Not because he was broken, but because something essential was missing. When the news spread, whispers followed Mornike everywhere. Have you heard? The baby doesn't feel things. He's alive but distant. Bola heard too. She laughed. Did I not say it? She boasted. Some mouths are not ordinary. She mocked openly. If you know your mouth is weak, keep it shut, she said loudly one afternoon. People avoided her, but pride blinded her. 5 weeks later, her labor began. Bola screamed through labor, her voice echoing through the hospital corridors. When the baby arrived, he cried. Strong, healthy, normal. Bola smiled triumphantly. But days later, the change began. The child did not stop crying, did not sleep, did not calm, ever. As months passed, it worsened. He laughed at pain, destroyed things joyfully, hurt others without remorse. Doctors diagnosed it gently. Madam, your child lacks moral restraint. He does not recognize right from wrong. Bola's knees buckled. She remembered Mornike's words. You will regret the day you opened your mouth over children. 2 children, both alive, both breathing, but both carrying invisible scars. Mornike's child grew cold and distant. Bola's child grew violent and uncontrollable. 2 mouths, 2 pregnancies, 2 consequences. And finally, understanding arrived. Not loudly, not proudly, but painfully. One afternoon, Bola stood at Mornike's door. No insults, no pride, just tears. I didn't know, she whispered. I didn't know words could follow children. Mornike looked at her for a long time. Then she nodded. We both learned, she said softly. But our children paid the school fees. They cried, not for themselves, but for the mouths they once trusted. Moral lesson. Words are seeds. Some grow immediately. Some wait. A careless sentence spoken in anger can outlive apologies, prayers, and regret. Never curse a child. Never speak pain into a future you will not control. Because the mouth is small, but destiny listens carefully. Did this story touch you? Do you believe words spoken in anger can shape destinies? What would you have done differently if you were more Nike or Bola? Share in the comments section. We want to know your take on this. See you all in our next chapter. Bye guys.